Hello, social world. We're here for a few minutes today because even though it's only January, the spring market is here. So this is Robert Greenblatt. I'm here with my team member, Michelle Cohan. Welcome,
Hi,
Michelle.
everybody.
And we wanted to take a few minutes. Actually, it was Miss Michelle's suggestion that, maybe we should get out there and just talk a little bit about the importance of pre-qualifications and what's the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval and some stories, because I know you guys love real estate stories. So we're going to share a couple of stories, some good, some not so good. So stick with us for a few minutes here and, learn a little bit. So we'll start with Michelle. We talk about how, you go out, you can't make an offer without a pre-qualification, right?
Right.
We need some kind of a letter to accompany an offer when we're presenting it, because you could be the nicest person in the world, but if a seller sees an offer and they don't know if you have the ability to borrow that money, they're not going to take it very seriously, especially in this very competitive market, which we still find ourselves in. Mm-hmm. Not quite as competitive as it was 6 months ago, but that's a different video. We'll talk about that at a later date.
An older one.
Yeah, an older one and a newer one, because it has changed a bit. So it's important to align yourself with a lender and get a pre-qualification or pre-approval, and we'll talk about that again in a sec, and how that can go. So I'm going to let Michelle tell a real estate story to you guys briefly here on an experience, and I think there's something to learn there for everybody.
Sure. We always talk about which lenders to use. As agents, of course, we have our favorites, but this is a story of what I call the bigger banks, and I won't mention who it is, but it was a client of mine who got pre-approved, totally pre-approved. We went out looking for houses. Everything was great.
Pre-approved or pre-qualified?
Pre-approved.
Pre-approved. Right. So the quick difference there, even though the terms tend to be used interchangeably in this industry, there is a difference, and the difference is a pre-approval implies that the lender has reviewed the physical documentation for that particular buyer. So they've looked at pay stubs, tax returns, bank statements, basically, not just run credit and said, hey, okay, you look good to me. So pre-approval should have more strength than a pre-qualification.
Right.
Thank you.
So
Michelle.
totally different. So had a pre-approval, had everything. Like, we were on the road, we were going. Went out, looked at a couple of houses, beautiful, finally picked one, got an offer. We were so happy that it got submitted, and then we were picked for this particular house. They were elated. So we're going along, needed to get mortgage commitment, and whoops, hold on a minute. Guess what happened? They didn't put the taxes within the total amount. So go ahead.
I was going to say, so remember, right, when someone gets pre-qualified or approved for a mortgage, really it's a payment they're getting approved for. That's right. Really, at the end of the day, look, the truth is, any of us are buying a house. It can be X number of dollars, but at the end of the day, everyone just wants to know, how much is that payment? You're buying a car, how much is that payment, right? It's kind of very similar. Yeah, exactly. So, okay, I could afford that. That sounds good. So in this case, what we're hearing from Michelle is that particular lender did not factor in the monthly cost of those property taxes when they pre-approved this particular buyer.
And based on where you are, those property taxes could be $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 a month more. And this is what happened here, because this was, a substantial house, and the taxes were probably, I think they were like $18,000 or $19,000 a year. So what that adds to your budget. So guess what? We couldn't get that house. So yes, they had a pre-approval. We were good. But to me, it also depends on who you're getting that pre-approval from.
Yep. And unfortunately, if you've been in this business a long time, like I have, and a lot of you guys watching this probably have, you've seen this before. So when we get involved with, let's call it larger lenders, out of state lenders especially. Look, the truth is, taxes in New Jersey compared to a lot of other areas, pretty high. So property taxes can really impact a monthly budget for any particular buyer. So we have to be very careful that, number one, of course, they're including an assumption for property taxes. But number two, one of the things that I'll go above and beyond and try to find out whether I'm on the buying side or the listing side is, what did they assume for taxes? If it's a larger lender, did they actually look at the taxes for this particular property? Or did they just take some kind of assumption? Because truthfully, a lot of the assumptions, if they're not familiar with this state, they can be extremely low. They'll say, oh yeah, well, we figured, $1,600 a year for taxes. Wow, wouldn't that be great? That'd be so awesome if that's what we had here, but that basically doesn't exist in the entire state, at least that I've seen. So
No.
yeah, we have to be so careful with that kind of thing.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think you had another example with another client with a unique situation that actually would at first blush appear super qualified because they had like 50 or even 60 or 70% down on like a $500,000 house, right? Yeah. So what happened there?
And again, that was sort of like that last story that kind of went intermingling with it. And yeah, they had all of this money down for, again, a substantial amount of house. And yet they still had to have a special program. So it took me not through a bank, because they went through a bank the first time, other local vendors to help me get them pre-approved. Thank goodness we got them pre-approved and they're on the way to buying the house. But the pre-approval process is not like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. There's so much that goes into it, as we all know. And there could be those little things that are just going to sideline you. Yeah,
very, very true. So, and I think kind of the moral of the story here is it's not a one size fits all with lenders, right? And this is certainly not an attack on any of the big lenders, because I've had plenty of transactions with larger lenders and everything is perfectly fine. But there's different things that are going on. Not everybody gets a W-2. Not everybody's been at their job the same amount of time. Some people are on commission. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
There's different ways. Some people own businesses and it's all about how they do their taxes. So, certain lenders are going to be better or well-versed in certain scenarios at understanding a buyer's particular financial situation. And I've seen countless times where a particular lender says, I can't figure this out, and then turn around and you match them up, right? It's like Match.com. You match them up with the right partner there, and they figure it out. Just like both of these buyers did end up settling on houses that they loved,
right?
But it was a bit of a roller coaster ride to get there because they both lost previous houses because of these glitches. So an emotional roller coaster. And part of our jobs is to try to make sure that we avoid all those speed bumps. But obviously, there's things that are beyond our control.
And to be tenacious about it. You can't be an agent where you just say, oh, sorry, we can't get it for you. Keep digging. Somebody out there has a program that can help these, help these clients. And that's, especially for that first one I talked about. I mean, it took me 4 different places.
Tenacity is something that I haven't brought it up in a little bit on a team meeting, but I used to bring it up a lot more. And I think I'm going to work it back in. But tenacity is something that I love that word. Because I think it's true. I think that many, many years ago, I remember a lender saying to me when we were trying to work through a deal, I remember just asking question after question after question. Did you think about this? Or what if the buyer did that? Or could we do this? Or could we do that? And that's tenacity, right? Just trying to just kind of roll up your sleeves and make sure that we've explored every single option before we give up. Because we're talking about someone's home and it affects multiple people because the home they're buying, someone's selling, and it trickles its way down the line. And I actually think, Michelle, that the best agents out there are the ones that are willing to really try hard, really push through. I had a deal actually very recently that closed. I was helping a seller. It was a short sale. So it was a complicated scenario. It had been on the market. It didn't sell. They actually didn't realize it was a short sale at that time, or the previous agent didn't. It was definitely a short sale. Never met the seller. That happens a lot. Lives out of state, very far away. Reached out to me. We listed the house. We got everything moving along. And I had a great co-op agent on the other side, but there were twists and turns in it. There was issues with the buyer's mortgage because of the condition of the house, issues with utilities because the way the house is, a short sale is a distressed sale, and they're not all pretty. They don't all smell great. But when you have a great combination of agents together on a transaction, you will find your way through it. In fact, this one had, I don't even think I told you this. This one had open building permits from the previous owner.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. And they wanted to find the current owner seller who's short selling the house, who's in a tough spot, and we're trying to help them through it. And on paper, the township ordinance said they could potentially get fined, and I kid you not, I believe it said $500 per day that the violation is open.
Crazy.
It's been open for years, years. But the truth is that what we figured out was the township is reasonable. We're dealing with humans here. They realized that the property should never have even changed hands with open permits years ago when our client bought the property. So they said it'll be a minimal fine, if any. It got wrapped up actually earlier this week, and they actually waived all the fines for the seller, knowing the situation. Yeah, so that's cool. But I guess the point is tenacity was there. Tenacity on behalf of the other agent as well in this transaction, because she had to work through all this stuff with with our help, but the permits and the law firm and just all kinds of stuff like that. And tenacity is a great word, and it applies to working through that mortgage process. Absolutely.
Yeah, we have some really great vendors that we work with that definitely make the process easier for us. So I have to give them a lot of kudos of doing that, because we rely on them. So as an agent, when you have that sort of right at your fingertips, that's just a great thing to have, and sometimes I should, when these people are coming, let's say from up north or New York, which I have a few clients like that, and so I'll get a pre-approval. I'm like, please get it down here. Please get it down here.
Helps.
Oh,
yeah, it helps. It helps. Look, we can't dictate who you're going to use as a lender, right? All we can do is try to help you as a licensed professional, give you some guidance and some options. And when we give options out to our clients, it's because we know that if you use one of these three lenders, we know that our clients have had countless great experiences with them, for instance. And our goal is to make sure that you have a great experience in buying your house.
Right.
So there's tons of lenders out there that do a great job. They just don't happen to be on our list, and I'm familiar with them, and it's cool. It's all good. But we just want to make sure that everybody's in good hands, and we have high expectations from all the vendors that we do business with, because whether home inspectors, right, attorneys, title, everybody knows that our team services to a very high standard, and we expect that standard from all the vendors that we refer. And I think we have a pretty good extended team here with our vendors.
Yeah.
It works really well.
And the other thing I also find whenever you're putting an offer in, and this is great for offers, when you have a local presence, the other agents kind of have that really good side about it. They don't really want to work with big boxes or, somebody that they feel that there's going to be 100 hands on this particular file, instead of somebody local who we know, who we talk to all the time. So for us and our team, we prefer local. And I know working with other, through other agents, that's like spot on with part of an offer. They're like, yes, it's a local vendor. Thank goodness.
Absolutely. So, and sometimes it actually becomes a decision factor in getting an offer accepted. Not that, so let me give you a real life example. Here's another little story. Literally right before going live here for you guys, I was compiling offers on a newer listing of ours. And even though it's January, we had 25 offers on this particular listing in the last 72 hours. Wow. So crazy. And obviously a lot of those offers are going to be really good offers. And so when I compiled everything, the sellers read every offer, and then we summarized everything on a spreadsheet. We regrouped, we got on the phone, went through the spreadsheet. There was a few offers that always stand out in a scenario like that. And so you end up, you have the cream at the top and you have a few that are really good. And then in reviewing that, there's going to be differentiating factors, and maybe we'll talk about that in a later video on presenting offers and things that we can do. We did that recently. I think we're going to do it again because that stuff's constantly changing. But in this particular scenario, the sellers, of course, asked my opinion, and I could say I'm familiar with this person or not familiar with that. That doesn't, nothing bad or good. The particular offer that they went with, I said, hey, they actually had made the decision first. And then they said, well, what do you think? I said, I think that this offer checks every box. It's better on every level, that everything that they were looking for, it had. And I said, just a side note, if you guys were buying a house today, the lender these buyers are using is one of the guys I lean on heavily as a lender for our team. So I know they do a really good job. So that just kind of just sealed the deal for them. They're like, yeah, this is definitely the right decision, Yeah. So sometimes it helps when you know somebody. Sometimes it helps if we're helping you guys as a buyer, where I can say, hey, look, you use whoever you want. But if you use one of the guys or girls or people that I know, well, if there's an issue, I can just pick up the phone and call them.
Yeah, much easier.
You're not going to get a runaround. So again, it's all up to you as buyers. But I think, the importance of a pre-qualification, it's a must when shopping, especially in today's market, if you want to have an offer even looked at by a seller. The pre-approval is even more important, even though the terms are used interchangeably. I think it's important for us as agents or any agent out there that if it's actually a pre-approval, to point that out to the listing agent when you present that offer.
Right.
Because there is a difference. Because you could go online right now. We could just go online right now. We could log into lots of different lenders and we could automatically generate a pre-qualification letter.
Right.
I mean, it's really not that tough. A lot of those systems are automated, but it doesn't mean that it's a good letter.
Right.
Because you never really know.
Yeah. And one other thing I want to point out too, for me, I know getting like a pre-approval letter, I know that somebody else has touched them and sort of know them, where I don't really want to go to a home or a place or something where I don't know this person and I don't know anything about them. It's a safety aspect for us, for agents.
True. That's
so, that's just food for thought.
Yeah, safety is an issue. Fortunately, we don't hear too many stories in the industry, but when we do, it's scary stuff. Yeah. So we're always on our guard in this industry because there's a lot of funky people out there, right? I mean, most people are fine. And these issues are rare, but we like to know who we know.
And that's another topic.
That kind of is another topic, but I'll give you one last story and then we'll wrap. So many years ago, I get a phone call from a woman. She said, I have this home. I'd like you to list it and sell it. And I said, okay. She said, I live on the West Coast. I forget, maybe Washington State, like all the way on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And she said that it was rented and the tenants moved out recently, but we live out here. We've lived out there for a few years now. And the tenant never gave me a key back. I don't have a key. So I need you to arrange to essentially break into the house to list it. And I said, okay, no problem. We can work that out. I said, as soon as we hang up, can you email, fax, text me a copy of your driver's license so I can see who you are? Because I want to match the public record to make sure that this is real. This is the owner of record here that I'm talking to. Yeah. So I asked her that question and she says, well, why do you need that? So my radar's going off. I'm like, well, because you called me, you sound sincere, but before I arrange to have your house broken into, I want to make sure you own that house, right? Or, before I have a locksmith or a contractor drill your locks out, I want to make sure it's your house. Yeah. So she said, fair enough. That's a good answer. And then she actually explained to me that the reason she was a little standoffish with ID was she was a local former local quasi-celebrity newscaster in our area, and she didn't want this getting out that she had this challenge with this particular house. And she was on doing that type of work out on the West Coast. And I assured her not to worry, we don't publish anything like that. You're just the owner of record, but she had a fairly common name, so I don't think it would matter. But she just didn't want it kind of getting out there because of the type of work that she does. She's out there in the real world. So I'm not just going to go break into your house just because you called me and told me to. Yeah.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. So,
That's a good story.
thanks for joining us today, guys. It's Michelle Cohan, Robert Greenblatt. If you'd like to learn more about our team, feel free to reach out to us. Our number is right down there. Reach out to either one of us or comment below. If you'd like
Or
to learn
use
more about
EXP.
how EXP operates, we'd love to share that with you too, and speak to you confidentially about why literally a year ago, this week is our anniversary. A year ago, I brought my team over to EXP, and it was the best thing I ever did. So we'll talk to you guys and see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.